Now if I can talk about a little bit of the struggles that I went through when doing CAS. One of my first struggles was actually something that is not in my CAS portfolio because I couldn't put it even though I did do it. So this is an interesting story that made me understand how certain people you can help and they're good in managing the money, but unfortunately we live in a world in which other individuals are willing to use the money that you donate to help in order to benefit themselves and not the cause of the organization. So what happened is that me and a group of friends, we got involved with working with an organization that was focused on epilepsy and on individuals who had seizures. Therefore, we sold tons of bracelets in school to raise awareness about the importance of knowing about epilepsy and raising funds for this organization to give back to the families that have individuals that suffer from epilepsy, and so they can obtain money for their medicines and obtain medication necessary to treat the seizures. Nonetheless, what we found out is that one of the leaders of the organization was actually using this money for very corrupt reasons. But the thing is that we went to the location in which we were going to build the little school that we had not school, we were actually building a door and a playground in a house that had a child that had epilepsy. But we were helping to fix their doors as well as their backyard, which was very dirty and there was lots of garbage. So we were doing this. But then one of the neighbors comes over to my friend and tells her, you should be very careful with working with that family because they're involved with drugs. And a lot of people within that neighborhood were telling us that. And it was really an ethical decision of should we keep helping this family because they do have someone that has epilepsy that could benefit from the medication. But at the same time, the family wasn't very grateful for the opportunity that we were giving to them. And it was really an ethical choice of what should we do? Should we help them or should we not? And unfortunately, we were not able to continue the project. We ended up not helping them, but not in the selfish way, not because we didn't want to do it, but because sometimes you need to make ethical decisions to be able to really understand where the money that you are raising is actually going to go to. That's one of the major things and lessons that I learned from CAS. I learned that sometimes raising money and sometimes money is not as valuable as giving back in education or an experience. I was able to learn that sometimes the money that one donates is not given to the people that the organization says they're going to give, or it's not allocated correctly and not enough resources are covered with that money. So CAS has helped me to understand that you can still give back, you can still help in a way that does not involve money. For example, one of my favorite experiences was that me and my friend, we said, you know what, Christmas is coming up, we should do something. And we were thinking that we should do something for children because that's what everybody does. But then we thought about older individuals and elders. And we really were able to think about elders and how lots of them tend to be alone during Christmas. Their family don't visit them as often where they are in the elder house, in the elderly homes. So we decided to organize a Christmas party in an Asilo San Benito, which is an elderly home in Panama. And we talked to the organizer, and we went there, and we got tons of donations from the faculty and from the different parents at ISB and the students. We got different blankets, we got lots of toothpaste, lots of brushes, cleaning products. And we took this to the elderly home. And when we got there, we were able to set up a round of bingo to play with all the elders. And they were so happy to see a young environment energy. And lots of them told me that they no longer see their families, mostly for their holidays. It tends to be lonely. So I was so happy that we were able to give back without really money being needed. Instead, just our presence and having fun, playing bingo, and dedicating our time and energy to helping these individuals have a better Christmas. So definitely money's not always needed. Sometimes what's important is to have time and to give your time, your energy to help people around you and to help your community. And it was really cool because it was the first time in my life that I was able to feed not a child but feed an elder. And a new sense of respect was developed within me to the elder community and how they helped raise generations. And it's really important that we don't forget them in our lives and that we give back to them and we really take care of them. So definitely another experience that I really loved. Now, what is my favorite experience? I already said. What would be one of my biggest advice to future students doing CAS? One of my biggest advices would be to try to be a little more, not organized, but more, try to distribute your CAS experiences more. I feel like my CAS experiences are very service-based or creativity-based, but I feel like I lack some type of workout or more action. I did do basketball, I did do soccer, and I did train myself in the gym. But what happened is that I lost, and this is pure honesty, I lost some of my balance in regards to doing exercise because of the IB and because of so many things that I had to do. I had to prioritize what I could do, what I couldn't do. But I think that if I would regret something or if I could change something of how I did my CAS experience was that doing sports and being in a team is so important, and many times I deprived myself of this opportunity because I decided to do something that was more creative because it could be shorter or easier to get over with, instead of being really committed to doing something as long as being involved in a team, in a sport. But I think it's so important that mostly when you're doing the IB, you need to distress. So do exercise, have fun, and try to be balanced in what you do as a whole in CAS. Not just creativity, not just this, not just that, but really everything as a whole that I think you could do. And I think it would be really cool to do. Now, as I was saying, one of the biggest ways that I have grown throughout CAS is going to be developing my creative side. With this, I am going to first talk about TEDx, which is my most recent experience. TEDx was about 2 weekends ago, and it changed my life. What happened is that I shared my story about dealing with domestic violence in my household. And I shared my story about rebelling against this type of domestic violence and rebelling against injustices and violations of our human rights. Through this talk, I spoke to a big crowd of parents, of faculty, of students, of people that came from different schools or just from university to watch my TED Talk and the other TED Talks that were happening. And this helped me so much, not only personally to express my story and the importance and the impact it has had on me, but to share my story and share my voice. I wouldn't have been able to do that when I was in 9th grade and 10th grade, but through developing my public speaking skills since the 11th grade because of CAS, when I did TEDx, I felt so comfortable doing, and it was such a huge moment in my life to tell my story of domestic violence in front of so many people, and to really understand that my story goes beyond the impact it has had on me. Because through TEDx, I was able to understand that we all have different stories in the way of how things happen to us, but we all have a similar story of what has happened to us. This is very contradicting. What I'm trying to say is that my story is different. My story was of an abusive father in Panama City, while somebody else's story can be of an abusive uncle in Miami. Total different stories, but the same idea of speaking up for your rights and defending your rights as women, as children, as men, to not let violations of human rights occur. So that's one of my biggest public speaking moments that I did because of CAS, and I just loved it. Now, my favorite, actually I said before that the Camp Hope was my favorite experience. It was, but my top favorite experience that until today has honestly changed my life has been GIN. Global Issues Network. I was the master of ceremony, so lots of public speaking, lots of jokes, and I absolutely loved it. And that's where I understood how CAS can go beyond creativity, service, or action, because I met my best friend in the whole entire world in this conference. My best friend, he lives in Nicaragua, and I met him because of this conference, and I am more than grateful that it was because of CAS, like, you know what, let's do creativity, that I met a person as important as him in my life. And it was so cool to see how we can get involved in these different type of things without knowing what we're going to get from them. And normally different CAS experiences teach you lessons or what to do, how to deal with situations. But in this case, I was fortunate enough to actually have a new solid friendship that I know will last a lifetime because of a CAS experience. So definitely I think that for future students, if you have the opportunity to meet new people in a CAS event, then do it. Then talk with new people, then socialize with new people, because a person I met because of CAS now is my new best friend. And I think that is really important to develop friendships and relationships along the way of CAS. final recommendation that I have learned, as well as for other students that are going to be taking CAS, is that if you're going to do it, don't be mediocre about it. If there's one thing I learned from just the whole IB is that mediocrity is, I don't even know that's how to say the word, but being mediocre is the worst thing that you can be. You need to do what you do in the best way possible. Because to be in the 1%, you gotta be willing to do what the 99% are not willing to do. That means that if you're going to do a CAS experience, you must do it with every single spark of action and energy and time in your heart. Don't just do it because you want to check it out of the list. Do it because you care, because it's meaningful to you. Because that's the only way that you're really making a change and an impact, by being passionate about the change that you're trying to make. And overall, I'm kind of sad that CAS is over because I liked CAS. I didn't see it as a burden of, oh my god, I have to do this. I saw it as an opportunity for me to grow as an individual, and I'm kind of sad it's over, but I'm happy for what I have learned, and now that I'm going to study international development, which deals with a lot of the CAS experiences that I have undergone, mostly the ones focused on service and creativity, I really want to get the elements and the values that I have learned from CAS and apply it to what I will be doing in university.